I think it's going to be okay.
I think you're going to be okay.
Cool. All right. Welcome you to another episode of Porch Talk. This is your host, Alan, and we are not only burning phone lines, we're Skype calling. And so what we have here is just two folks who can't agree, and I'm going to mediate. I got Coley Johnson and Levi Seymour on here with me, and we're going to hash some topics out. And because I'm a hungry man, I want to start with food.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it barbecue? Is that where we disagree?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, barbecue is the main one. I feel like there's a couple of hot takes I have about fast food. We can get there eventually, but barbecue, I think, was the initial one where me and Coley found out, like, hey, maybe we don't agree on exactly everything, and it got pretty heated.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right here, something that Coley posted the other day, and I thought it was good. It was like the fast food bracket of like who would win fast food. Some of those restaurants I don't even think should be considered fast food. Like, do y'all consider Five Guys fast food?
No.
Like, what are the rules for fast food?
Well, do they have to have a drive-through?
I say so.
Well,
that's where where Subway's like the rule breaker there, because I still would consider Subway and like Firehouse as fast food, but you do have to get out and go inside. So I feel like if those are fast food, then Five Guys is also. But I don't know.
Okay, check this out.
I have been to the Subway drive-thru.
That's what I was about to say. There's a Subway in Columbus that has a drive-thru. True story.
Okay.
I've never been to a Five Guys with a drive-thru though.
Same.
All right, so let's start here. What are your top 3 burger fast food joints?
Just burger.
Just burgers.
Hardee's. Hardee's. Burger King. And then, golly, number 3 is tough because, like, Wendy's is bland. Okay, the Baconator's good.
Yeah, Baconator's good. So, I think number 1 hadn't even been said yet. Which is Whataburger.
Forget Wendy's.
Yeah.
So, Coley had a good rebuttal to one, because I left Burger King, I think, in the first round on that fast food bracket. But he said the Texas Whopper is good. But isn't the Texas Whopper a limited time only thing?
I don't know. I got it from the one in Pascagoula, but the one in the Walmart in Pascagoula didn't have it. So I don't know. I don't know if it's limited location or what. But it's basically a double Whopper with jalapenos and like everything else, onions, everything.
That's
good.
So I always get Texas anything, like not just because I'm from there, but because anytime they do a Texas burger or anything like that, it just is bacon and jalapenos. Sometimes like cheese, extra cheese they'll put on there. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's always good. Hardee's had a really good one time.
I never tried Hardee's Texas burger.
I don't see it a whole lot, but when I think this might be further west, help me out, Levi, but I like a burger with like bell peppers. And I don't want like an onion burger like McDonald's does, but I like bell peppers and like light onions. And I think they call it like a Southwest, and they even have a Southwest sauce up though on it.
Southwest sauce is always good. That's my opinion on that.
But you won't get that from a fast food place. I've never seen that at a fast food place.
No, I've never seen bell pepper at fast food place.
But it has to be good. I've done that at the house.
Right.
I say my top 3
Okay,
burgers.
in other news, what are they?
Whataburger, Sonic because of the bacon cheeseburger toaster, and then Five Guys doesn't count, so I'm gonna just go McDonald's because I think the Quarter Pounder's really good.
Okay. All right, Coley, what you got?
So I got Burger King first because of the Texas Whopper. Until then, it really wasn't. It might have been third. But since they got that, Whataburger's probably second. And then McDonald's is nowhere even close to being on my top 10 list, probably.
The Big Mac is better than the regular Whopper. They've got more variety that you can get off that menu that's like passable than Burger King does.
Yeah, but you just get more bread.
What? On the Big Mac?
You have Foosackly's, Raising Cane, Zaxby's. And everybody made a hot fuss about Foosackly's moving to Auburn. Now they're going to be in Tuscaloosa. But really, chicken is chicken. And they all have the same sauce.
Disagree.
Okay.
So I think there's. You go ahead. Go ahead.
So tender-wise, Cane's has the best tenders because they're bigger. Like Foosackly's is more crispy, but Cane's tenders are bigger, and the sauces are almost identical. They're very little difference in them.
Bread at Cane's is better.
The Texas toast, yeah.
But
so does Zaxby's even have a place?
I had Zaxby's tonight and it was trash. I wouldn't feed it to my dog because I don't have a dog, but it sucks. But I did
salad.
I did feed it to my wife though, so. But that's just tenders though. You have a whole other argument about chicken on your hands with Popeyes versus Church's and Chick-fil-A.
Okay,
yeah.
Let me squash this right now, and I think we're all going to agree. Popeyes wins. Chick-fil-A is overrated, and Church just should be shut down.
No, Church's is good. It's a different kind of chicken, but it's good.
What churches have you been going to?
I've been to one church. Not going back.
The one on what?
The only church you need to go to is that one worshiping Jesus. It ain't the one that serves chicken.
Hey, you can't get, other than at Popeyes, but it's not the same thing, but you can't get mashed potatoes and gravy with your chicken anywhere else.
KFC?
Popeyes?
Ugh. Talk about.
Oh, we didn't bring up KFC.
KFC is terrible.
Dude, don't
KFC's
you dare disrespect the Colonel that spices.
It's not as good as Popeyes.
Remember what the Colonel did for us before the pandemic of the COVID-19? He gave us a donut, chicken, and then donut. It's like, did you ever want diabetes?
He also had this was actually one of my all-time favorite fast food items was the when they came out with, oh God, I forget what it was called, but it was, instead of bread, they just used 2 pieces of fried chicken, and they used that as the sandwich material and put bacon and cheese and sauce in the middle. I was like, that is glorious. And it was, but that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I feel like
I like the game.
What you had said, Coley?
I thought it was fair.
I never tried it, but it looked really good.
It was.
It was good.
You'd get about halfway and be like, my heart kind of hurts, but it was worth it.
Right.
I think it was $5.
And I'm kind of drawing blanks on other like fast food right now. I think it's like burger and chicken. Is there like, I mean, you have your sandwich shops, but in my opinion, Firehouse Sub whoops the dog out of everybody.
There's a lot of sandwiches.
They got a really good menu.
You got Jimmy John's.
Let's say Jersey Mike, Subway, Firehouse,
Jimmy John's.
Jimmy John's. Jimmy John's is at the very bottom.
What about Lenny's?
What about Quiznos?
That's a good point. I've never had a Quizno.
Quiznos is fire.
That's pretty good.
Okay, it might be Firehouse, so I can't speak on that.
Well, Quiznos, where they make their bones is their bread. Their bread is awesome.
Yeah, they have the best bread.
Lenny's is good if you want something that's kind of like a Philly cheesesteak, but not really. They've got some good stuff.
That's another thing. I don't know if they're still open. It's a little sandwich shop that Aaron Chenners used to work at in Theodore, still open.
Yeah, they are.
I worked there for like 2 months, but that's a good place to eat. Like if you want Philly.
Yeah. Euros and Philly
cheesesteaks are fire too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
but that's all subject.
Sandwich shops I'd probably put I probably still would put Firehouse at number 1, then Quiznos, and then Subway. Just because if you like, they may not have the best like item, but if you know what you want, like you can go get what you want from Subway.
That's why I like Subway. That's why it's my favorite one.
That's Subway's your number 1?
Yeah. I feel like it's more of a variety at Subway. I could be wrong, but I do feel that way.
I think I give them that.
Yeah.
Because Firehouse is kind of limited on what they do. I think it's like mainly hot sandwiches. El Paso. All right, so with barbecue, and I want to go here. To me, there are only 2 places in this country that really rank. It's Kansas City and Memphis. And they're very different style barbecue. And I think Mobile has some great barbecue joints, but I think that Memphis does it best.
Well, I've had barbecue in the Carolinas, and it's good. It's more vinegar based, but it's good. Texas style barbecue is always just salt and pepper. That's the only thing they season their meat with. Usually salt and pepper, especially like brisket and ribs and things like that. The things that matter.
We do right. And I think that brisket is the most important thing because brisket is the hardest kind of barbecue to do because you can immediately screw it up.
Yes.
Because if you bring me brisket out, like if I order a brisket and you put it on a bun, like my thing, it tells me that the cook didn't know what he was doing.
So this is where we disagree a little bit because I don't go whenever I get barbecue. I don't go and order brisket because of that reason. Is it can be so easily messed up. So I don't ever want to go order it. But if I'm at like a family cookout and I can see the brisket and they bring it out and it's got like an inch and a half of fat on the outside, I'm like, okay, now we got something to do. But if I go to a barbecue place, I'm gonna get ribs or I'm gonna get pulled pork or something.
Well, anytime I go to a barbecue place, I can get some type of sampler because I want to be able to see how they do all of it. And if you take a brisket and you hold it on your finger and it don't droop down both sides of your finger, it's not worth eating. So you can tell instantly.
Can we agree on one thing? All right, think New Orleans. That little hole in the wall that we used to go to before the games.
Fantastic.
Is that not a jam-up place?
That place is awesome.
They usually are. Little small places like that usually are.
You went with us.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, in general, the building the better barbecue.
And he just named it. That is the number one rule of the game. The smaller the building, the better the barbecue.
That's true. That's like the place in the bayou that I used to go to all the time, Frank's. They don't even have it's not really like a real store. Frank's is good. You even said Frank's was good.
I did say it was good, but Frank's don't do brisket.
Don't need to.
He does ribs and pulled pork.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's both of them are good.
Yeah, I mean, they're good. But nothing. I mean, all right, it's in the bayou, so the convenience of it is super nice. You know, you can just go get it. It's right there.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not going to drive to Mobile for that.
No. Well, I mean, I would because I live here, but
right. Because I do want to point out the fact that the guy from Texas isn't big on brisket. That's where I think it came in at.
I'm not big on brisket. I won't go and get brisket because it's never what I want it to be, right? Like,
yeah, but that's the whole thing about trying a restaurant. I mean, you go and you get it. If it's not good, you don't get it again. But you get it. It might be a home run.
When I go to a restaurant, I'm there because I want to eat, not because I want to be like, let's see what they're good at.
I mean, you're not going to buy unedible brisket. I mean, it's something not so good, but it's not going to be like where you can't eat.
A lot of terrible.
The first time I went to the Shed was unedible brisket.
I've heard mixed things about the Shed.
This was the one in Mobile when they had it. But.
Oh, okay. Because the Shed's won multiple barbecue competitions, like whole hog and all that. They won a lot of those competitions. But all right.
Have y'all ever been? And we'll close it out with this. I mean, I think that's weird too, man. Because like when I go to a barbecue joint, the first thing that I look for is brisket. That's what I want. Because when I want barbecue, I want brisket. Because it's the most difficult to do, and it's also the most delicious when it's done right.
No, I agree.
Pulled pork, I'm not impressed. Ribs, okay, I'm a little more impressed. But if you do brisket and it's jam up, I'm really impressed.
I just
go. I'll probably come back.
I just go so I can eat something that's good, and ribs are delicious.
I'm just trying to tell you that brisket is the best.
It is the best. I mean, pulled pork, you can make that in a crock pot, and it's good.
That's true.
Yeah.
I have not once said pulled pork is what I would get the first time. Ribs is my go-to. All right. Moving on.
College baseball is out. College football is to be determined. what do you make of like the draft, the NFL draft? What do you make of all of that stuff?
So, I have an opinion on that, or not really. I guess it's more like an observation. But I know one of the teams raised an issue because they said that they were going to do it a virtual draft via Zoom, like what everybody's using right now to kind of video conference or whatever. But Zoom allegedly is like super hackable. So they're like, they didn't say the Patriots are going to hack us, but they were basically like, the Patriots are going to hack us. Like, be like, number one pick in the draft has been traded to the Patriots. Like, wait, no, we didn't want to do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I hate it.
I would think
it was. Go ahead.
I think they could do it they should be able to do it the same way, right? I mean, why can't you just, instead of having an audience there, obviously, and that many people, you have that team sit down, they talk about who they want, what they're going to do, and they relay it to one person, and he walks out on the stage and says this,
Yeah, I'm not sure why
it
would do that.
Yeah, I don't get that.
My big thing about the draft is we've had all this time off. Tua's been cleared for football activity. Where's he gonna go? Because I have a standing bet with somebody that he goes at least top 6. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
I think he will, but I don't think that he should. I agree with that. I don't think that Tua is. I think he'll be like McElroy or McCarron status in the NFL. Like he'll be back up. I don't think that. I think he'll see the field maybe every now and again, and he'll kind of fade out. Because think about it, so injury prone, man. And is he that good?
I think he is. If my team didn't have a quarterback, I would want them to take him. And my team's kind of the same situation where we picked Watson, and he had torn his ACL twice. And then his second year in the league, he tore it again. And it was like, I mean, you deal with that, though, because he's such an elite talent. I think Tua is going to be that kind of good at the next level. And honestly, if I was, this is probably a hotter take than it should be, but if I was picking number 1 and I was dead set that I was going to pick a quarterback, I'd be more nervous about taking Burrow than I would be Tua.
I don't buy the hype of Burrow.
Here's my thing.
I buy the hype of Ogeron and everything that he done postseason of this year. He brought in some really great coaches, and he developed, and he let everybody coach.
Mm-hmm.
And Burrow just fell under a quarterback coach that really developed him in a playbook that he could thrive in, and he had players around him. Am I saying that Burrow is not a good player? No, I think he's great, but I don't think he's electric. I think he'll fade out,
I think if you just look at both of them's resumes, what they've done. Now, obviously, Tua's been hurt, but you can't forget that Burrow lost his starting job. He didn't win the starting job at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
He lost to Dwayne Haskins. I mean, he's good, but what's he done since? Would he have beat out a Tua at Alabama? You know what I mean? Like if you were in college and you had them two their whole entire college career, yeah, Burrow had the best season by far. You know what I mean? Like Tua ain't never done anything close to that. But
he was a monster.
Tua's been great. Yeah, but Tua's was great when he was in. And whatever you want to make of the schedule, I agree. It was for the most part weak, but
well,
Burrow proved himself.
The year before, though, I mean, if you take all of the good defenses and good teams that Tua's played against, he's got a better resume than those other two. And like Haskins, he wasn't just a nobody, though. I mean, Like Haskins set Big Ten records, and he did beat out Burrow. And Burrow's first year in LSU, he didn't look that good. Like Burrow was not close to looking as good as he did the second season. But then again,
that's why I give so much credit to the coaching staff at LSU that Orgeron brought in.
To that point, yes, like the coaching staff is a huge deal, because you don't throw for 80% completion on accident. Like a big part of that is talent, but another big part of that is scheming. And like if you have these great receivers that LSU typically does have, but you don't have a good offense, then your quarterback's going to struggle like he did last year. And if you do have a good offense, then game over for everybody else, I guess.
So, and this is kind of like a hot point for me. I get a little hot over this. Is there's two things that happened in the SEC over the past 2 years, in my opinion. Is Burrow's first year in the SEC, you had extremely good defenses. Like everybody was fairly strong. Like Mississippi State was extremely strong in defense. Alabama was strong. Auburn was strong. Texas A&M was stronger than last year. Everybody in the West was fairly strong defensively. And this year you had kind of an anomaly where Alabama really wasn't anything to write home about defensively. And they were solid. They just weren't Alabama solid, if that makes sense. And like you had Auburn gave Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers all they wanted, and in my opinion, they got robbed. I thought the Auburn Tigers were an extremely good team. They just didn't have any offense with Bo Nix. But
yep, I go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I do like comedy. I like comedy movies. But my top 10 is all mixed, different types of movies. I don't have really a favorite type of movie. I mean, it's really all mixed up. It's not just like one genre. But
yeah, it was a weird question.
Yeah, somehow it comes back by the hot rod thing. But it's really hard to say a definite top 5. But my favorite movie of all time is Troy.
Is it? I was gonna say
yeah,
Shawshank Redemption.
Well, that's number 2. But the reason I like Troy so much is the only thing I ever got into in English class was, the Iliad, Greek mythology. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it was just kind of cool. After you read all of it, then you get to see the movie about it, and it's a war movie. With some cool fight scenes and stuff, a lot of action, and it's just cool tying it back, and I just like it. But Shawshank's definitely number 2. And go ahead.
You go ahead.
You want my top 5? I can't give you 10.
Top 5.
All right. So I go Troy, Shawshank. Really, the next 3 is kind of a toss-up of which one's actually better. A Beautiful Mind, to me, has always been a really good movie. It's a little on the slow side, but I like it. You know what I mean? And Forrest Gump's one of my all-time favorites. Ever since I was a kid, that's been a favorite. And then I'd probably have to go with Dumb and Dumber. The original Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this: with Forrest Gump, this was me as a child. Maybe both of you. The first time I watched it, I really enjoyed it, and I'm talking, maybe 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that area. But when I got older, and especially as I watch it now, like it really turns more into. Do you remember the feather scene where it flies in at the beginning and then it flies back in at the very end, and that like his whole life was pretty much BS. Like, that's just kind of the way I see it. Is like I see Forrest Gump just talking on a bench and like, you lived through some pretty wild times, and I don't believe any of it. But it's a
yeah, but I mean, how's it not hard to believe he outruns a truck?
I'm not saying that I don't believe like him outrunning a truck. I think that's the whole. It's a farce. It's like a modern day parody of sorts, like same as "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," like where they were doing an Odyssey. And that's what I see like as I'm older with like Forrest Gump is like they're mocking and they use modern history and they use like things that were extremely controversial in American history like the Vietnam War, Black Panthers, just all the thing that Forrest Gump had going on in his life. It was like almost a parody on the culture. And like
Ping Pong.
You had one of my all-time favorite movies is like Tropic Thunder when Robert Downey was talking about Tom Hanks is like maybe slow, not retarded. You know, he walked slow, had braces on his legs, walked extremely funny, went on to be a war hero and won a ping pong championship. That's not retarded. But Sean Penn, I Am Sam, he went home empty-handed.
But the cool thing about Forrest Gump is the time frame that it was, portrayed over was the perfect time frame for all that because all that really took place. So everything, through those. You could do it now. We got crazy stuff going on now that you could do something like that with. But,
we're living in it, right? Say like Tom Hanks' son and do it, which probably has AIDS, by the way, because Jenny had AIDS.
True.
And that was another thing about that movie. Like, the older I get and the more I watch it, it's like how dark it is. That's an incredibly dark film.
Yep.
But it's a great film, man. It's an all-time classic for sure.
So
when I was younger, I used to watch that and Independence Day pretty much back to back a lot because it was like the only two movies I had. Well, out of the movies we had, that was my two favorite ones. So it's just watching them back to back.
Dude, like when I was a kid, it was so crazy. My mom was really strict on television, and after my parents divorced, between like mom and dad and then grandparents, I was mostly raised by grandparents, and like my grandfather would just be like watching like them old school westerns, like what was his name?
John Wayne.
Yeah, John Wayne was one of them, but this is Matt Dillon. What was it? What was the show that Matt Dillon was in? Oh, it ran on forever.
Bonanza?
Maybe, but that's not it. But anyway, like I remember, like my TV influence, it was so off, man. It wasn't until I was about 20 years old, I would say, that like I had people that I hung out with that watched TV, but we were usually like watching MTV back when they played music. And so like my whole credibility on film has really just happened in the past few years. And even now, like growing up in a home that really didn't watch a whole lot of TV, it's still kind of strange to me. Like, I think I'd be totally fine operating without a television.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do without one, but we'll still go and watch some things.
I will say
now I would much rather watch a movie than TV shows.
With kids, it does make it a lot easier having a TV than not.
I can't speak on that.
I know. But, best babysitter we ever had was Mickey Mouse. So, that's what we let Leighton watch.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I gave mine. If hot number one. Yeah.
So
we gotta have a discussion about that.
I do have a question. You said so yours those were your favorite movies, right?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, the 3, 4, and 5 is kind of interchangeable, and there's probably one or two that'll sometimes kind of, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to say for sure. This is 3, 4, and 5.
I agree with that.
Well, because my thing is, like, my favorite ones are not the best movies I've ever seen. The best movies I've ever seen, like, aren't my favorites, or not going to be ones that I watch more than once usually anyway, because for it to be like a really good movie, I mean, usually something bad has to happen in it.
The hero has to die, right?
Yeah. But I don't know. There Will Be Blood's one of my favorite ones. No Country for Old Men is one of my favorite ones.
I really like that pick that you did right there.
Which one? No Country for Old Men?
I haven't seen that.
Like, the antagonist in that film is probably my favorite antagonist of all time.
He is the best
villain ever.
I would
like when he goes into the store, the convenience store, and they have the whole exchange. You know, the clerk asks, "What do you want?" Well, what do you want? And then he's like, "I'm gonna flip a coin. What's your call?" Well, what if I don't want to call? Well, you have to.
You have to.
And the whole thing, it's so creepy and it moves so slow, and there's so much angst building with the scene. He is perfect, and he's so smart. Yes. He's so smart.
At the very beginning, when he meets up with that, like, the cop pulls him over, he's like, he says something about, like, this measures something or other, and he's like, "Look right here," and just smokes him. That is by far the best bad guy I've ever seen, and it's like almost like borderline blasphemous to say this, but I think he's a better villain than Heath Ledger's Joker. But that's just because he's so.
That's crazy that you say that. Like, he is almost he's a better comic book villain than a comic book villain would ever dream of. Yeah. And it's the sense of the real of it. It's the guy has one job, and that is all he cares about. You can't buy him with money. You can't buy him with love. You can't buy him with anything. He just wants to do one thing. Mm-hmm. That's all he wants.
And people, like, beg him throughout the movie, like, "Please, I'll give you anything." It doesn't matter. It does not matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do.
He doesn't care.
Yeah.
So what else you got?
Yeah. That There Will Be Blood, fantastic bad guy in that one. And if you haven't seen There Will Be Blood, I highly recommend that you see it. It's about old school oil fields, and like Daniel Day-Lewis is like a old-timey swindler type of guy, and he just like cheats a bunch of people out of their land and stuff. He's awesome in it. Hang on one second. I'm down to 10%.
I like the scenery change, man.
Yeah. Giving you a headache yet?
I don't know.
Wish I could see it.
Oh Lord.
All I get is the border back here and what's in my shed. So.
Well, I mean, don't feel bad. I got like the sport border that's been in this room since the house was built.
They built it around the border?
Yeah, that literally happened. Like, the border was erected and then they built the house. This is the house that a border built. And it was built on sports.
My favorite comedy is The Other Guys, and my favorite movie is Hot Rod. And then my favorite horror film right now is probably Hereditary, but Midsommar is also up there.
Thank you.
Midsommar.
All right,
great.
so there's going to be a lot of debate with what you just said about The Other Guys and Hot Rod. Let me go ahead and throw mine out, and then we'll do that. Let me give you my 5. Best action / comedy, Tropic Thunder. Also timeless. Also an all-star cast of actors I never thought I would see working together. Ben Stiller, Robert Downey Jr., Tom Cruise, Matthew McConaughey, same guy from Hot Rod, same guy who produces so much. I thought he was going to be Tommy Exotic. That's why I watched the Tiger documentary till I figured out it wasn't him. What's the cat's name? I'm about to put some Tiger Balm on this Jungle's Nuts. What? Danny McBride.
Oh, Danny McBride, yeah.
He was in Hot Rod. And I mean, the film was just epic. Like the first time I watched it, I didn't get it.
Me neither.
And then buddy of mine, he bought it on DVD and he brought it over to my house and we watched it. It was like 7 of us, and we all watched it, and everybody had a great time but me. And I thought there was something wrong with me. You know, I was like, why don't I get this? Are they older? Yeah, they're older. Why don't I understand it? And then I watched it again and it kind of settled. You know, I was like, it's just great.
I guess I need to watch it again.
No, Tropic Thunder for sure. So the same summer it came out, Step Brothers, Don't Mess with the Zohan, Pineapple Express, and Tropic Thunder all came out the same summer, and I thought it was comfortably 4th out of those when I first watched them. And then it slowly moved up the rankings to where I think I probably have it 2nd right now to Step Brothers, which is arguably a top 3 comedy of like all time. So.
Okay. So right there with what you said is like I'm a huge Seth Rogen and James Franco fan. On the list I done on the Facebooks, Pineapple Express was not represented. It will not be represented on this list, but that is definitely.
It gets an honorable mention for sure.
A favorite. It's a favorite film. It's just classic, and it's just Seth Rogen and James Franco doing what they do best: pothead comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that list, it's numbered. That's number 2 for me. Out of that list, that he just named, that all came out that one summer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Step Brothers is epic. Don't get me wrong, but let me move on with the list. Is number 2. If I was going to give you, I got to go with a Brad Pitt film.
Any of them?
It has he ever been in a bad film? It would probably be. I want to do like a Quentin Tarantino. I would say Inglourious Bastards, or maybe a Fight Club when he did it with Edward Norton. But I really like Snatch. If y'all haven't seen that,
mm-hmm.
Where he is a bare knuckle gypsy boxing king, and he has like what a Cataman would know is. It's a good film, and it's crazy because like you have all these people who would never in a million years meet, and they all meet over a blood diamond. And the whole story makes no sense, but at the end of it, it makes perfect sense. And like, it was a perfectly directed film. It's a banger.
It's a Guy Pearce crime comedy. Guy Pearce is like the modern day founder of crime comedies, and that's where he kind of went off was with Snatch. Snatch is like very close to being a perfect film. It's awesome.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
I'll have to look for it.
I think it's on Netflix.
You'll have to check it out.
But if not, I don't know.
I think that you're right. I think it is. Number 3, I mean, Hot Rod's on there. I'm an Andy Samberg fan. I'm also a huge fan of Hader, Danny McBride, and pretty much everybody involved on that cast. And Samberg is not even the best person in that movie. Mm-hmm. It's everything that surrounds him.
I just see Coley getting madder and madder.
I'm not getting mad. I do agree.
I mean, I get it. It might be like a Napoleon Dynamite to you. It might be like a Napoleon Dynamite to you, but like that film just really does it for me. It's almost like a Nacho Libre.
Yes. Well, I've had people that say the same thing to me, like that they don't like Nacho Libre or they don't like Napoleon Dynamite. I understand. I understand not liking Hot Rod. It's just like when I go into a movie like that, I know that like it's asking you to turn your brain off. It's asking you just to like not think about it, just enjoy it for what it is. And Hot Rod, I feel like, has done the best job of that of any movie ever. Because like the main character is just a moron. He's just stupid. Like the
whole beef with the stepdad makes absolutely no sense. And that's like one of the main plots.
How he reacts to him coming home and his mom has all these people over because his stepdad's dying, and everyone's there.
I need to go to my quiet place.
He said, "What's this? Some sort of interactive theater arts piece?" No, it's Frankie's very sick.
I mean, it's funny in that way. You turn your brain off. It's funny, but I just have a hard time with it. It's hard for me to get into it. But you're right.
Turn your brain off for Step Brothers?
No, you do, just in a different way. Like, I don't know.
Like, Step Brothers might be the finest film ever for idiotic comedy, and the most quotable film possibly of all time.
I think that's what puts it above the other comedies that came out the same year it did, is because so many one-liners take place in Step Brothers that you could, and it's just about the whole movie is one-liners. You could start it and go all the way to the end and like pretty much have the whole movie just off of their one-line jokes. And like listening to a couple of interviews that like people that have been in the movie, like Rob Riggle and Adam Scott, like it was designed to be that way because they would have like a loose script of like things they want to happen. They'd shoot the scene, but then they would say, okay, now riff off of that. And then they would just joke with each other for like however long they wanted to until the director was like, okay, we'll use one of those. So like on the cutting room floor, there's whole other movies that like could have been made just off the outtakes of all those movies, really, like Step Brothers, Anchorman, Talladega Nights, all of them.
And it shouldn't, because like Talladega Nights, we already saw Dumb and Dumber get destroyed twice when they went back and made them younger, and then they tried to do a sequel. They were both absolute garbage. Anchorman 2 was a burning trash fire. Even that Jackie Moon movie, what was that Will Ferrell done where he was a basketball player?
Semi-pro.
Yeah, that movie was atrocious.
He wasn't good in it. But some of like the supporting cast in that movie was good.
Yeah. What about Old School though? I mean, like if you want to go back to that style of comedy, I think that was a really good Ferrell film.
I like Old School, but go ahead.
He's not really the main character in that one. I mean, he's one of the main characters.
Right.
Yeah, but it's
Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more of the Wilson brothers. Yeah.
But Frank the Tank is also.
Owen's not even in it.
Yeah. Vince Vaughn is the other guy.
You're right.
Yeah. I hate Vince Vaughn.
Other films, I'm trying to think of that list that I made because it really does ring true with me. But man, I'm just going to Quentin Tarantino so fast right now. I've been on like a Quentin Tarantino binge. I mean, this whole quarantine thing's been weird, but I've been back at work now. But
you're on a Quentin Tarantino.
Nice. See what you did there. That's nice. Yeah. So I think I have 2 films left to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done Tropic Thunder. I've done. Did I say the other guys?
No.
Okay, so that's number 4. Hot Rod, Nacho Libre is definitely on there. And then, I mean, because you kind of see where I get my kicks, and we're talking about replayability. And Nacho Libre, once again, is one of those films where you just turn your brain off. But how wholesome is Jack Black always?
Yes. Like, except Tropic.
See, I didn't get into Nacho Libre.
I like him in Tropic Thunder. I don't like him in Jumanji.
He wasn't wholesome in Tropic Thunder, is all I was saying.
Dude, he was so wholesome. He was like the heroin addict. I'm about to do all the heroin in the world.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
See, I'm not a big Jack Black fan, really.
Oh, okay.
I like Nacho. I like School of Rock. That's probably as far as I go with Jack Black, and I like him in Tropic Thunder.
I like him in Tenacious D, and I like his band Tenacious D.
I never saw Tenacious D, but I do know what it is.
Well, man, if you don't want to get down and like battle the devil, I wouldn't recommend it. But it's all about the tick of destiny, baby. It's all about the tick of destiny. And number 5, I want to get some kind of like cultural shout out. This is going to be against the list that I put up. I want to say like Last Samurai. I am like a Tom Cruise fan. And that goes back to maybe Tropic Thunder. It goes further back than that. It's like a Brad Pitt thing. Have you ever seen a Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt film that wasn't good?
I'll say they're good. I do feel like my favorite Tom Cruise movie was Top Gun. Like ever.
Have you seen all the Mission Impossibles?
No, I didn't like the first one.
Dude, when he brought in that British comedian who done Shaun of the Dead,
Simon Pegg.
I think it might have been Mission Impossible 18. But that was a lot of fun.
I'm about to blow y'all's minds. Mission Impossible, I forget what they're up. I think they're up to 6 now. Mission Impossible 4, 5, and 6 are awesome. They are incredible movies. If you,
I actually prefer those over the first ones.
I prefer them over 2 and 3 for sure. But Mission Impossible 1 is awesome. 1, 4, 5, and 6 are all really good.
I'm not that big of a Tom Cruise fan. Like I said, I like Top Gun.
What do you not like about Scientology?
Well, even because of that. I just don't really like him too much. I don't know why. I just never really care for him a lot that he plays in. You know, to me, like Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt's my 2 favorite actors. You know, and to me, he's not with it.
I was about to ask you like favorite actors. Like I totally agree with that. I like Brad Pitt. I like Leo a lot. You know who else I really have been getting into a whole lot lately? I can't think of his name right now, but he was in Django, and he was also in The Hateful Eight. He plays in a lot of Tarantino films. He's the older guy, and he always has like a really dope. He was in Inglourious Bastards. He's always has a really dope accent. Oh man, that.
He was in Inglourious.
So in Inglourious Bastards, he was the Nazi guy who was the Jew hunter.
Oh, Christoph Waltz.
Yes.
Is that the older guy in Django?
Yes, the guy that the guy that took Django in at first and got killed when they got to after Leo's house, after they went to the house where Django's wife was.
You want to talk about good performances? That's a very good Leo performance.
So do you know the scene where he hits his hand on the table and he busts his hand, cuts his hand wide open on the glass. Do you know that so that wasn't scripted for him to hit the glass. He was just supposed to hit the table. Or maybe he wasn't even supposed to hit that. But he hit it and sliced his hand wide open. From what I understand, I think he may have had stitches. But he kept going with the scene, and I mean it's a really awesome scene, and it was on him. So that was pretty cool. I watched that one time on I think YouTube. Like I don't remember what it was. I'll have to find that video again and send it to you.
I gotta say, the thing about Leonardo is like the whole should have won Oscar. I feel like it's been long overdue, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he done good in What's Been Eating Gilbert Grapes, even though he's been and from then on. And you want to talk about that? When has Leonardo been in a bad film? He hasn't.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
I mean, every movie.
I'm pretty sure I've seen everything that he's in.
Yeah, he's also just like he doesn't pick bad movies to be in either. Like going back to
Nick Cage.
He does. He will be in any movie.
Yeah,
I could write a movie and he would be like, "Yeah, I'll try it. I mean, whatever."
Dude, I'd love to be in it. You want to do it, Mobile? Yeah, let's go.
What do you think the top 3 DiCaprio movies are? Just in terms of being a good movie, not necessarily his performance.
Okay, you have to say like The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street. Inception. Oh man, and like What's Been Eating Gilbert Grapes goes back so young, and I think it highlights him and it was Johnny Depp, right?
Yeah.
I would say something before that. Like I like Leo. I mean, you want to forget about it or don't talk about it. What about Titanic?
I know.
Was he not dope in that?
He was dope in that.
That's one of those 2 VHS movies.
Yeah,
you're right.
I've got.
It takes a lot.
I've got 2 you haven't said yet that are probably 1 and 2 on my list. That's number 1 is The Departed.
Oh my God! When he gets mauled by the bear.
No,
Revenant.
That's not on. That's The Revenant. That's not on my list. The Departed is with Matt Damon and Mark Wahlberg. Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I know that film.
Number 2 is Catch Me If You Can.
Yes. That's my number. That's my number 2.
Number 3, I'd probably go with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But
I didn't even think about that.
It's by the slimmest of margins because he's got a bunch that are right there at like 95 overall out of 100 to me. Like you could say Django, Titanic, Wolf of Wall Street, anything. Like,
what about Great Gatsby?
I hated that movie, but he was
good. I like it and Aviator.
Aviator's good. He's really good in Aviator.
Like I say, he hasn't been in a bad film.
Shutter Island also very good.